Now then, people, welcome back to the Just Joe Football Show, and it's time for your Leeds versus Manchester City press conference reaction. We've got absolutely loads to get into. Some things I'm happy about, some things I'm not so happy about. Quite a lot I'm not so happy about anyway. We'll get our teeth into it. I'll give you my thoughts and reaction to it. Before we do, please do smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, get your comments in, and of course hit that notification bell, and let's get into it.
I don't think I do it.
Arsenal started like a house on fire. Signing number 2 for this new era. It's Judgment Day, people. Yeah! What did your boy tell you? It was never in doubt. Never in doubt. Don't believe in any luck, I believe I'm self-made, yeah. Yes, people, it's time for your Leeds versus Manchester City press conference reaction. Listen, you know my thoughts on Jesse. I do really like the guy. I'm just not sure he's the man to take us forward, but that's for another day, right? We'll chat about that another day. Here is just to talk about press conference reaction. Some rhetoric around transfers. It's not looking good. It's looking quite bleak. That's what I will say to you. And if Leeds United don't get acquisitions, then we could be up shit creek without a paddle. I can't lie to you. That's just my thoughts. Yes, I am called Stacey. Heating's in on. I've not long been in. I've been out, took the kids out. And yeah, I'm getting another dog. He came to see Billy in his house today. So I'm getting another dog, another Frenchie called Marco. I'll share that with you. I put it on my social media anyway. But yeah, listen, enough about me. Right, enough about me. So there are a few injuries and sickness. I don't like the lack of clarity on when this sickness is going to be resolved. Like, it was very much, you know, this should be back in training. This should be. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. We need to know, you know, absolutes, truth, facts. That's what I want to hear. I'm not too confident that the lineup that faces City is not going to be too dissimilar to what we've seen last night. And if it is, then we're going to get spanked. I'm sorry to the lads that will come in, but I'm just not sure they'll be able to cope with the prowess of City, especially in the middle of the park, especially out wide, especially, you know, full-back areas due to the system that we play. But it is what it is. So Click was sick. Sinisterra's still out. They have to treat him very cautiously. And it's going to be a few weeks before he's even back in training. So we've all been asking about Sinisterra. It's really unclear. So he's going to be out for a few weeks before he even gets back in training, which is a bit of a worry. Do you know what I mean? So we could be like 2 months before we even see him on the sub bench. Do you know what I mean? A few weeks before he's back in training. Then he has to get back up to speed. And that's a worry because Sinisterra is our Rafinha now, if you like. Every time Sinisterra plays, he tends to get goals, really. So Click was sick. There was some clarity given by Catherine Hanna. She asked Jesse for some clarity on injuries. Cooper's out with a calf injury. Harrison has an abductor injury. Maybe in training next week. That's what we keep hearing. Maybe. Somerville's out as well. But again, he's back on the grass today. Hopefully should be training tomorrow. Again, it's all hopeful. It's worrying. Rodrigo, he was a little bit tight as well, but both may be in training. That's what I mean. It's not filling me with confidence, both in the squad and the transfer front as well. But we'll talk about the transfer stuff. On the Stuart Dallas, he said as well, he's had to have another bit of surgery to clear some things up. But I don't think any of us expected Dallas back anytime soon anyway. The Harrison one worries me. The reason as to why is because he felt tight before Real Sociedad. We were told by Rennie Maric after the game that everything's fine. And then he doesn't play last night and he's still not training because he's got an abductor issue. Let's hope, because we were told today that Rodrigo was also tight. What if he goes through the same as what Harrison is? Who's starting up top? I love Joffy. I think he's got potential, but we're yet to properly see it. And I'm not confident with him leading the line against Manchester City. I'm not. Bamford, he'll be back soon. I mean, how many times have we heard that? I don't think that's going to happen. I guess you could say it's a positive. Meslier is going for tests tomorrow. He's got glandular fever. It affects, obviously, his ability to recuperate. And, you know, I guess long-term it can cause issues in terms of your respiratory system and stuff. But he's going for tests tomorrow. If he passes them tests, then hopefully he'll be involved. We need him to be involved because you know my opinion on Klaassen and Robles. They're not first-team Premier League goalkeepers for me. Yeah. He was then asked about Mateus. So there's injuries all over the shop is what I'm saying. So I'm worried about Leeds United having a good enough squad to be able to take on Manchester City or a good enough first 11. We couldn't even put out a full bench last night in the last pre-season friendly before the season starts. So, you know, people believe the club's rhetoric. People believe Jesse's rhetoric. And I'm not having to go at Jesse here because he gets it from the club, right? The club keep things... I seen him when he mentioned transfers and someone said in the chat, yeah, that's the right attitude to take because people hear what we do and then buy our players. And it's like, you don't really believe that shit, do you? Do you really think scouts are watching press conferences saying, oh, Leeds United are after Willie and Yonto, let's get in there? It doesn't work like that, man. There's scouts everywhere. Trust me when I say it doesn't work like that. So this whole fallacy thing of Jesse not wanting to share with us transfer targets just in case, I don't know, Man United come in and nick them, it's BS, man. The way the scouting networks, where I can go on FB Ref and find out a player who's playing in Papua New Guinea if I wanted. So best believe that, you know, Victor Orta or any sporting director worth his salt knows about players, knows who clubs are interested in. Oh, yeah, we've had loads of scouts come down. Leeds have been down. Tottenham have been down. They know all this. Come on now. It's rhetoric by the football club. Do you know what I mean? But people believe the hype. So yesterday, when we didn't have all the first teamers out, and people are saying to me on social media, you need to calm down. We only had 4 or 5 first teamers. He's resting them all and all that. No, they're all injured or sick. And he's not sure if they're going to be back. But everyone believes the hype. Everyone believes the rhetoric that comes out from the football club. And I hate to say it, Jesse more and more is turning into a club man, if you like. Because some of his stuff on transfers, for me, has come from the top, not from him. Because Jesse came in shouting about transfers. Every manager would like transfers. Any manager would like this. And I'm not having to go at Jesse for this. Remember, he was talking. I remember getting stick for it. This is what I'm saying. I've got the receipts. I remember. Yeah, yes, man, Graham. I remember when I spoke about Jesse saying, I want a striker, I want a left back. Yeah, I've got a meeting with the owner. He had a meeting with the owner and then said, we don't need it anymore. You know, we've got Stroud there, or we've got Rodrigo. We've also got Dan James who can play there. And we're all going, no, please, no. Please, no. Now, when asked about transfers, he said, I'm refusing to speak about it. That's not him. That's come from the club. But we'll get to them points because I've got some thoughts on it. So Mateus Click, we were then asked about the MLS interest. MLS interest, he said, look, we're still cautious. We want him to stay. He said he's played 25 out of 28 games and he's one of my favourite personalities I have ever coached. Jesse understands, though, he wants to start and he gets it. And I get that as well. And I think, listen, if Clicky wants to move on, then we have to accept his wishes. I think Jesse's obviously talking a good game in terms of the press conference because we know we worked with his man management, psychology and stuff. If Click sees that, oh, I'm well thought of, he really wants me around. I'm one of the favourite personalities he's ever coached. Again, could just be rhetoric. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Psychology, man management, that's what it's all about. But he says he's played 25 out of 28 games, one of the most in the squad. But again, a lot of them will have been from the bench. And Clicky wants to start. And I totally get that as well. So they were asked, and this is when I really started to get, no, Cini not back gaming. He's not even going to be training for a couple of weeks yet, brother. So you're going to be waiting a while. All right? You're going to be waiting a while on Sinisterra, which is heartbreaking. Now, this is where I started to get up a height. This was even before the transfer stuff. This is what have you been doing during the international break? And he said, look, we've invested so much in the fitness. He then said, we have pushed them so much, hence why they have niggles and some of them didn't play last night. If I speak, I'm in trouble because my man was speaking about Bielsa overtraining people. And now he's admitted in a press conference that hasn't been put out there saying we invested a lot in fitness and we've pushed them that much, hence why some of them have niggles. So does that mean you're overtraining them then? Do you know what I mean? If I speak, and I have no issues with them being pushed physically. They're used to it, right? But what I don't appreciate is when you're saying on one hand they were overtrained and now you're admitting to overtraining them in effect. He was then asked about Mateo Joseph and the under 21s and saying, is he knocking on the door? He said, look, I spoke to you previously about Crysencio Somerville. I said he was close to a start and look what he did. And that's why I have to back him on that, because Crysencio Somerville is just looked exceptional when he has come into the team. And he's another, like, I guess this shows the threadbare nature of our squad, that a player only 6 months ago, none of us thought, you know, he was still... Okay, some of you did think he'd be ready, but I didn't think he'd be ready. We're now looking at it going, oh no, Somerville's out. Do you know what I mean? That shows the threadbare nature of our football team, that we're going, oh no, man, Somerville's out, you know? But look, he said Cree was close. He gave him game time. You know, he's coming up trumps. It's the same with Mateo Joseph. The one worry I have, though, with someone like Mateo Joseph coming through is it will mean the club will be reluctant to buy players. I was very, very confident about us buying players. After hearing the press conference, not so much. He was asked, look, are you likely to bring anyone in? He said, we're active, we're hard at work, but he's going to say that. That's what they all say. Even Bielsa said that, and Victor is doing that. You know, we find out that he's been tracking Unahi, who had an amazing World Cup for 2 years and never pushed the button. We know about Gakpo. We know about Noah Lang, CDK, RDP. The list goes on. We just never get them in the door. But he said, what I will say, transfers are used as a lightning rod with which to beat us with, so therefore I'm not going to talk about it. That's from the football club. That's not from Jesse. That's from the powers that be that have said to him, do us a favour, don't talk about transfers. Why? Not because he's trying to protect the targets from other football clubs. Because, you know, as I said, we can go scout a player if you want on Y-Scout. You know, you pay for a subscription, put a player's name in, you'll get a scouting profile. You know what I mean? Clubs use Y-Scout. You could get yourself a Y-Scout account. So let's not pretend that scouts are watching Jesse's press conference on the off chances he mentions a player and they go, oh, yeah, we'll go sign him. Doesn't work like that. Come on now. It doesn't. I can only give you my opinion. You might not like what you're hearing, but that's fine. That's my opinion. This is my channel, and I give you my opinion. That's what you come for. But let's not believe the hype when it comes to that stuff. He said, look, this is what he said. Here's how I want to deal with the transfer window. Obviously, we're being active, but I want to avoid from talking about it because it becomes a lightning rod. I need to keep our attention squarely on our group and our progress. That is a definite switch from the one we had in the summer, which was every manager would like players. Yes, I want a striker. Yes, I want a left back. That's just changed completely now to saying, no, I just want to focus on our group. Definite switch. Who's that come from? For me, that's come from the powers that be at the football club. He was then asked a further clarity. Are you happy there is money there and available to spend? Now, this answer, was very political in its answer. It was a bit, I still don't know. I don't have clarity. And one thing that worries me, he says, we'll be working on things in order to add to the pack, and we're looking at different ideas on how we add to the package. So what does that mean for you? Does that mean player sales? Does that mean loans? Do you know what I mean? Because he was asked, are you happy there's money there? The answer wasn't yes. It was, the club are working on things to add to the package. Different ideas are being used. That makes me believe that, yeah, Lee, I agree. I'm not beating Jesse here. He's the club man, right? I can only speak about him, but the way that it was spoke, it was like we'd have to look at loads of different permutations in order to be able to get the funds. Not just, yes, there is funds available. Like if a manager asks, if you are asked a question, are there funds available? And there is, you say yes. Yeah, there is funds available if we find the right player. That's an answer, right? And we'd all go, right, okay. But it wasn't that. It was very much, you know, and that's how a manager would answer. Like, I aren't like, you know, coming up with like reinventing the wheel. I've heard managers say, yeah, if the right player comes along, there's money available. Because then you're saying, yeah, we've got money only for the right player. Do you know what I mean? Bielsa used to say, didn't he? We'll only get what, if it's better than what we've already got. And we used to go, all right, okay, yeah, I agree with it. But this wasn't that. It was very much, we're working on things in order to look at different ideas to add to the package. I don't know what that means. If someone can explain it to me, I think he's saying, Cameron Mitchell, though, when you say there has to be funds there, Rad said we're going after CDK. Again, don't always believe the hype. Don't always believe the rhetoric. They do not tell the truth. And the reason they would have pushed the button on CDK is because they would have got an uptake on that investment. Let's not forget, Rad Razani said, I wish I'd have gone 10 days earlier. If he was that soon and that clear on getting him, guess what? He'd have gone 10 days earlier. So like Robert says, could it be loans? Could it be player sales? I have something niggling in the back of my mind that Jack Harrison's going to be sold. I think that's why we're not seeing him. Call me a conspiracy theorist, but I think that might be happening. His agent was supposed to be coming over in January to thrash out this new contract. It's quite interesting. He's coming in January as well. Newcastle knocking on the door. Maybe other clubs as well. Leeds United, not a lot of cash. Maybe willing to move someone on, get them off the wage bill, get an increase on the transfer fee they paid of just 11, 12 million pounds, and then reinvest that elsewhere. Or in our case, not reinvest it at all. Who knows? But we need bodies, and I'm just not convinced that we'll get the adequate enough amount. Like, for me, we need another centre midfielder. I really like Adam Forshaw. I mean, Barry Douglas called him the Scouse Busquets. I think he must be smoking grass over in Poland, if I'm being totally honest. But there you go. That's just my opinion. But I think I like Forshaw, but he's not an adequate enough replacement for Adams or Rocker. Left back's a shocking situation that we find ourselves in. Striker, again, is a shocking situation that we find ourselves in, unfortunately. We even look light on the wing now, having let James go. Somerville, Sinistera, they're out. Harrison, out. Maybe on his way. So we need not just like one or two. We need quite a few bodies, in my opinion. But again, that is just my opinion. I must stress that fact. If you disagree with me, again, that's fine. And that's your opinion. I will not berate you for your opinion because we're all entitled to them. They're like arseholes, right? We've all got one. Some are just dirtier than others. Now, do you know what else as well? Right, here's some more rhetoric for you. This really ground my gears as well. So he was asked about the squad. Now, this is the first time I've heard Jesse peddle this, right? Because remember, Jesse said, everyone always wants new players. He said this in the summer. Everyone always wants new players. Then he was asked about the squad. And he started to push some rhetoric about Pep Guardiola saying you should only have 18 players so you're not upsetting the apple cart. Then he also said, oh, and if you're in Europe, some managers say 21. Jesse's never said this. Do you know who used to say that? Bielsa. Do you know who used to advocate having a small squad? Bielsa. Do you know Victor Orta has said afterwards they want to continue in that model? Victor Orta has come out and said that before. Now we have a manager who's in charge who's now starting to push that agenda, which again makes me think we ain't doing any business. Or if we are, it'll be some out, some in, that kind of vibe, not just adding bodies. When he said that about, well, Pep Guardiola says you should only have 18 players. Bearing in mind, he'd already told us that Pep's the best manager in the world. So it's sort of like, I agree with him, Pep is. But what I'm saying is he's going, Pep's amazing, and then later on using that to say, oh, well, Pep said you should only have 18 players. So, like, we're all going, oh, if Pep says it, yeah, Pep says it, yeah, then that's fine. Mr. Dodo says you can have a small squad if they're world-class, fair enough. But if not, you're at a disadvantage, and I think there's a point in there as well. So it does worry me, that rhetoric coming out, you know, because Jesse's never, ever said that. Jesse spoke about overtraining, although he's done it himself recently. You know, all this sort of stuff that can be a byproduct of having a small squad because you only have a small amount of players. Jesse's also said, I always want players. Which manager doesn't want players? You always want to improve the squad. And now he's saying, yeah, but Pep says you should only have 18, 21 if you're in Europe. And trust me when I say Victor Orta is on record as saying he would like to follow on with the same blueprint that Bielsa had, which is a number of first-team players supplemented by youngsters. The issues we have, the first team isn't good enough, and the youngsters are not as great as we first thought. That's what I believe. I do think now Jesse, in a sense, like someone's just said in, I think, Alan Smith, Jesse's falling into line. And listen, I like Jesse as a person. I don't like how he plays football aesthetically. Just my opinion. I think he's very great at man management. He's a fantastic talker and a great guy. Like, I almost feel bad, you know? I don't dislike the man. I just don't like the style of play. And then when I hear things like this, which I think is quite contradictory to what was said in the summer. Why? Because the club for me and the board have got their teeth into him. Yeah, Brian, bang on. Owners only want a small squad to save money, not for benefit of the team. I suppose it can work, though, if you have a better squad. But what, like was said earlier on, if we were to have a better squad, then I would argue it does work because it keeps all players happy. Do you know what I mean? You can't have a massive squad because then you're leaving out top players. Do you know what I mean? Rotation and all that sort of stuff is about, you know, about football. But Jesse's always been about rotation. He switches it week in, week out. If you remember, we'd play one game, win, and then he'd switch it. Remember Leicester and Fulham? How we changed the squad around for Leicester after a great performance the week before and we got beat. And everyone's going, why has he done that? That's what he does. Like, he's done that a few times, even at his previous clubs. He switches players round. It would be better and beneficial for him if he had more players to choose from, a bigger player pool. Now we're hearing that isn't the case. And he doesn't want that to be the case. I don't know. Now, those will say, watch us go and beat Man City. I'm a fickle guy. I'll be going, yeah, Jesse, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? I'll be amazing. But what I'm saying is, when I actually strip it back and look at it, I'm critical of the style. I don't like watching Leeds United play. I think it's like pulling teeth. That's just my opinion. You know? Just my opinion. Now, he was asked about potential outgoings on loan as well. He said, yeah, look, there might be changes in that respect. Maybe that's how we lower the player pool in order to improve the floorboard, not ceiling, the bottom, what's it called? Floor of the squad, yeah? Not improve the ceiling, but maybe get rid of some of the youngsters on loan and bring in some better players to raise the bar. I don't know what I'm trying to say, honestly. Just ignore me. But he mentioned Cody, and he mentioned about, you know, we're constantly looking at Cody Drama. And Jesse did say will be an important player for us at this football club. I do think the whole Borussia Dortmund stuff is a load of codswallop. I think he's got a very, very good agent, and I just don't see what Dortmund see. But then again, I was wrong on Cree. But Jesse thinks he's got an important role to play at this football club long term. So it sounds like he's going nowhere, although he might go out on loan to the Championship again. Then he was asked specifically about Manchester City. You know, Kamal says some journals saying we'll get a striker and a left back. I did think that to be the case. And you are right in mentioning other positions as well. We need a number 10. We need a midfielder. All this sort of stuff, I get it. But even with the striker and left back, at what cost? Like, how is that package going to look? Are we going to have to lose Jack Harrison in order to bring in a bang average striker? We just don't know. Is that left back going to be a loan from somewhere? Brandon Williams played for Manchester United last night against Burnley. He'd be available. First time he's played in however many months. There are bodies out there that you can bring in on loan. Maybe, you know? That's just someone out of my, you know, plucked out of the air. But I thought he was good against Leeds United last season, to be honest, for Norwich, I thought. But anyway. So he was asked about City. Best manager in the world, so much quality, monumental task. I think we all agree with that. And I think, and you are right, Graham. I just want to, you say it was all doom and gloom before Liverpool, then we went and beat them. 100%. And when you're winning football matches, you're high, right? You don't care about the football stylistically, but it's too inconsistent. We need to be consistent. Maybe after the break, we might get a point against City, win Newcastle and win West Ham, and I'll go, you know what, I'm wrong. But in my mind at the minute, I don't think we get any points out of the next 3. And I know that's a sobering thought to hear, but it's just my opinion. City will beat us. I think they're too good for us. They're too good for many teams. Newcastle are amazing at St. James's Park. They're 3rd in the league. They're riding the crest of a wave. We will not get anything up at St. James's Park. Again, I hope I'm wrong. And I think West Ham will turn a corner after the break. That there is 3 solid teams. Now, I know West Ham are down there with us, but wow. You know, that is 3 rock-hard games. You've then followed that up. I think we've got Cardiff in the FA Cup, which might be a welcome breather at that point. We'll all be praying for a return of a World Cup. And then we've got Villa away, which have turned a corner since Unai Emery came in. Unai Emery's a Europa League winner multiple times. Too much disrespect in England for what happened at Arsenal. Although, statistically, he was actually really, really good at Arsenal. And then Brentford. Brentford might be save your job time if we're not careful. I've said, and I've said it on record, I don't think he'll see the season out. I hope I'm wrong, because I do not want my football club to lose games. I like Jesse. I do, right? This is not an agenda. Please know that I just don't like the football that we're playing. And I think it's not only Jesse, it needs tearing up from top to bottom. I'm really grateful for what Radrazani's done, but if Jesse goes, we'll just get another person that's willing to toe the line. We'll have the same squad size, because it's the rhetoric that's actually being pushed by the board. So all them people that blamed Bielsa for the small squad, for this, for that, it was never him. It was those that were above him. And they're continuing in that vein now, you know? They're continuing in that vein. And Nige makes a good point about our chairman saying that we'll be in Europe in 3 years, whatever it is. Anyway. So, best manager, so much quality, monumental task, for sure. But he said, look, we're not afraid and we can find ways to get points by a clear match plan and discipline. And we can. We've got points against Chelsea. We played well against Arsenal. We beat Liverpool at Anfield. First team to do it in however many. It can happen. But like he said, he's got huge respect for them. But we can get points. And maybe we will. And I hope I'm wrong, and I hope we beat City, and I can say, do you know what, I got it wrong, and that's fine. He was asked, will Willian Gnonto play? Because Willian Gnonto has impressed during this small mini pre-season. Thought Robin Koch was good last night. Willian Gnonto's looked good as well. Who else has there been? Rodrigo, I guess, in the game against Sociedad. Strauch looks assured as always. But yeah, he said, will Gnonto start? I think he's going to have to start, because I've got sneaky suspicion Crysencio Somerville's worse than they're letting on, I think. Jack Harrison, I think, is going to move. I think it might be Willian Gnonto, Aronson, and maybe Click if he recovers from his illness, with Forshaw and Rocker behind. It doesn't fill me with confidence, I'm sorry. But he said, yeah, he could start against City. If Somerville's back, I think he starts. If not, it will be Willian Gnonto for me. He was then asked to about Erling Haaland, because obviously he managed him at Salzburg. He said Haaland texted him saying he's most excited for the Leeds game. Obviously, we know his relationship with Leeds United. He was asked by Phil Hay, does it help that you've coached him? He says, yes, it will motivate him and me. I do worry that he will be chomping at the bit. But listen, it's Haaland. He's chomping at the bit for any side, and he's going to break all goal-scoring records in the Premier League if he stays here long enough. Obviously, we have no Tyler Roberts. I'm glad we don't. Well, no, I probably could do with him at this point. No Tyler Adams due to suspension. Jesse said it's helpful he's out in a way, because obviously he played every minute in the World Cup. He was the captain. He had to deal with a lot of politicised questions as well, and that would have taken a toll on him physically and mentally. So he's got a rest, but he was then asked about who will come in for him. He says Forshaw's been doing well. Greenwood, Click played well and can fill in. I think it'll be Forshaw, because Forshaw has played there in every single pre-season game alongside Rocker. Can he give us what Tyler Adams can? No, he can't. Will we be missing Tyler Adams? Yes, goes without saying. You know, the guy's a destroyer. he's probably our best player this season, if you take out Rodrigo. But I'd still say Tyler Adams, but I understand why Rodrigo will get it because of his goals. He was then asked about the 4-3-3 that was adopted yesterday. I know Ethan's just mentioned it in the comments as well. Phil Hayes done an article about it. Very good read. Make sure you check that out over on The Athletic. He was asked why he's done that, and he says, look, against the ball, it allows us to play symmetrically, tilted. Basically, I'm not a tactician. I'm not going to pretend to be. It is what it is. If you want to know what that stuff's about, go watch T4, go watch John McKenzie, listen to All Stats Aren't We. That's what I try and do to try and further my knowledge, always learning. But he says, look, we can use the front three and the middle three better for pressing, and we can adjust it in game to a Christmas tree, staying on brand. Merry Christmas, everyone. Christmas tree formation, diamond formation, etc., etc. He was then just finally asked as well about Mark Jackson. So Mark Jackson is actually linked with a move to be the new manager of MK Dons. I think that one might go through and we might lose Mark Jackson, which is disappointing because he's aware of the squad, works under Bielsa as well in that same group, stuck around, helped Jesse quite a lot. Apparently he's amazing at set pieces as well because we did well and then we're now shit at him. But yeah, that's a bit tongue-in-cheek. But listen, Jesse says, all I can talk about is that Jacko has been an absolute asset since my first day of the job. It's not for me to talk about what his future may be. I think Mark Jackson will leave and go to MK Dons. And why not, right? Why not? If he's been offered a first-team job, and I think they're in League One, like I understand why he would want to take that. Yeah, right. Okay, let's get to some of your comments. That was the press conference in all its entirety. If you've got any questions, we'll stick around for another 10 minutes if you like, and I'll answer some of your questions and give thoughts on what was said. If you've got anything you'd like to ask, then please do. Please smash a like on the video as well and subscribe to the channel. I'll have a preview out ahead of the 28th game. I'll be doing a watch-along on the 28th, which is Wednesday. I'll hopefully have an opposition preview out as well ahead of the game. So look out for that. Keep it locked at the Just Joe football show. Justin says, Joffrey to MK Dons on loan if he goes, potentially. Joe Shaw says, our board are all about projection and theory. This is the Prem. We don't have enough experience. Simple as, shouldn't be struggling in third year. Agree. Joe, what do you think the starting lineup will be, says Ethan? I think it will be hopefully Meslier in goal. I think we will have Rasmus at right back. I think Ayling's going to partner Koch and Strauch will be at left back. Says a lot about Llorente that I think Ayling might get the push ahead of him. It'll then be Forshaw and Rocker for me. And then Rodrigo, hopefully. Yeah. Aronson, Click, if he's fit. If not, it'll be Sam Greenwood and Gnonto. It's not strong. And it could even be less than that because Rodrigo might not be back. Then you're playing Joffrey, and I've not been infused by his performances at the 9. I think maybe he needs to play up alongside someone personally. Bamford would be good for him, I think. Definitely. Rodrigo doesn't have that. So that would be my lineup just at this minute in time. That might change. But yeah, I'm not feeling confident right now, and it's amazing what 45 minutes of football can do for your mood. Bamford may be back. Don't believe the hype, Graham. Do not believe the hype. Unfortunately, I think Bamford's done at Leeds United. The guy can't train. He's Ledley King 2.0. He can't train. This is what annoys me even more, the fact that we did not get a striker because we didn't know until this season. Bamford did an interview on the Leeds United podcast where he said he only trained like 4 times last season. No one knew that. Club would have preferred to keep that under wraps, believe me. Because if we'd have known he'd have only trained 4 times last season, we'd have all been going, get a fucking striker. Every press conference would have been, get a bloody striker. But they didn't. It was Bamford that gave that information out on the Leeds United podcast. Bielsa never mentioned it. Jesse never mentioned it. Because the club knew, man. You can't mention that stuff. Because it'd be even worse, right? Wouldn't it be even worse? Oh yeah, I don't know why you're on about Burger King, but I did go to Burger King again today. It was better today though. I went to drive-through 4 times, says Paul. 4 times then. So, yeah. Disappointing it. I don't know where we go. But, yeah. Right, listen, folks, I'll leave it there. Thanks, as always, for watching the Just Joe Football Show. Keep it locked, though. There'll be some more content over the next coming days. Maybe even something Christmas Day. Void says prediction of table placement. It's not looking good right now, mate. I just worry about everyone else's business. Ask me that question at the end of January. The end of January is the big one because Bournemouth have a new owner, Villa have a new manager, Wolves have a new manager. Trust and believe Lopetegui and Wolves will fly up that table. So that's another spot gone. You're looking at Forest, you're looking at Bournemouth. Forest will go again. Maybe if they actually listen to Steve Cooper and stop buying what the owner wants, they might actually climb up. And if they're not, they'll sack the manager. I think we're wedded to Jesse, and I don't think they'll admit they got it wrong. Who else is there? We're running out. Everton maybe. Southampton maybe. Don't know if Nathan Jones will get it right in the Prem, but he always had Bielsa's number at Luton. There are many teams worse than us. I think, Graham, you're on that Radrazani hype train. And that's fine, that's your opinion. But you said there are many worse teams than us in terms of quality. Bournemouth, I agree. Forest, no, I don't agree. Forest have good players, they've just got too many. They've got a better squad than us. Wolves definitely have got a better squad than us. Come on now. Ruben Neves would walk into our side. Podence, all of them. Raul Jimenez is getting our side. He scored the other night. They have a much better squad than us. Everton, they're very, very good. They've got Tarkowski, they've got Connor Cody, they've got, their midfield's looking better. The guy Anana, Idrissa Gana Gueye. I'm not too sure I agree with you there. Southampton, I do. I would say Southampton, I would say Bournemouth. Squad-wise, yeah. Jaggy Bab says nobody ever talks about transfers, Joe. No need to panic. Well, that's not true, is it? That's not true, because we've spoken about them before. What do you mean? Jaggy Babs, have you listened to the press conference? I think it's time to panic. You don't have to agree with me. You can disagree with me, and that's fine, because football is all about opinions. We've all got one. They're just like assholes. But yes, listen, on your way out, please do smash a like. I'm going to go have a nap now. I've got a stream at 7 o'clock on the 12th Man podcast. So if you want some content a little bit later on, there's myself and a number of other players from different players. I wish. A number of other fans from different clubs. On the 12th Man podcast, so on Dan Potts' channel. So make sure you check that out. I'll be there, and I will see you in a bit. Thanks always for tuning in. Have a nice Christmas if I don't see you, but hopefully I will see you between now and then.